Hello and welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Small Talk with Shibby, my LCS post-game interview content. I'm here with Shopify Rebellion's very own support, Zeyzal, and although they're coming off of a loss, Zeyzal, I have just been so excited about your return to the LCS. The redemption arc, the journey for you, it was long, it was arduous. I remember when you were competing in Worlds and you kind of had to grind back up from Tier 3, Tier 2. I don't know if anybody's asked you, but how does it actually feel to be back in the LCS competing as a support?
Honestly, it's wonderful to be back. Obviously, like I didn't really want to come back and struggle to win, but I mean that's just part of the journey. I'm not the perfect player anymore. I mean I never was the perfect player, but I'm not as good compared to what I was. I have to rebuild and I have to accept that fact and just keep trying to improve. It's hard. I mean I make sure I put in the hours. I got to do what I have to do to get back there, but there's always like that. I know what it's like to go to Worlds and do well, and I always chase that feeling, right? So it's like there's something there that isn't like mysterious. I know what's there, and I'm more motivated to chase it. You know?
I know. I know you'll get there. We're just waiting for the Alistar meta, the engagement. That's where I know you're gonna pop up. It's gonna come around eventually. Like I already know. It's fine. But obviously, I feel like a lot of people don't kind of understand how little time your team of five has had to really kind of practice together. Obviously, you were swapping in Bvoy this week, and you had less time to scrim with him. Obviously, your team is taking a lot of time to gel. Can you kind of talk me through what that's been like? Kind of obviously knowing that you have less time to prep against some of these teams, knowing that your five-man roster is just now finally getting together. Is that a little bit harder to kind of come to terms with and just have to accept that eventually, everything will gel, everything will come together? Because you've somebody that's been competing for a very long time. You've been on a multitude of different rosters. Like, is this just something that you understand is a part of the process?
I definitely understand it's part of the process. But yeah, I guess for context, this is the first week we've had Bvoy here for all of the scrims this week, and since it's super week, it was a full 3 days of scrims. The normal is 4, so
Yeah.
in total, if I'm not mistaken, I think B-Boy has split 4 days of scrims and had 3 full days of scrims. So what is that, like 5 days total of
Yeah.
scrims, which obviously sucks. Visa issues are what they are, but I understand it's part of the process. I would have liked to avoid it, but I'm not trying to say that's why we're struggling because truthfully, like Turtle being in, I mean, he was playing well and we were still struggling, right? So I think we have problems outside of whichever 80 carry we use that we're still trying to work on. So if anything, I would say how well Bvoy does. If he does well, it's even more impressive. If he doesn't, it's like he's actually only had 5 full days of scrims, kind of. So just part of the journey, and it's not why we're not doing well, but it it is perhaps part of why Bvoy might be slow to start looking really good.
Yeah, I mean that's just kind of more motivation for the rest of your members, right? To kind of step it up, so he's not kind of seen as like, all right, we're not losing because of him, but like, you don't want to give yourselves excuses for some of those games. I do want to kind of talk about the game in particular, the one obviously you just played. I feel for like a lot of casual fans or people that kind of just watch and are like, oh yeah, oh cool, Garen mid, like there's all this cool stuff. It's not working. Like Insanity's throwing, like he's picking all these weird champions. Can you kind of talk me through the process that happens in draft for you guys to kind of pick these compositions? And can you kind of tell me, maybe explain to somebody that's watching, like what was the idea of this specific composition?
I'd say the main idea is like we have a pushing bot lane, and
Yep.
then we have Maokai jungle, who's known as more scaling jungler, not necessarily the best at keeping mid push or helping mid in 2v2s.
Hmm.
So we were thinking kind of you can combine that with Garen, who is particularly strong at like 2v2s in mid, but also he can just lane verse anyone pretty
He's
well.
super hard to move, right?
Yeah,
Like just
very durable champ. It's like he has the regen passive, he has his W if he gets ganked, Q move speed. He's just very durable champ. And so the main idea is we basically don't lose 2v2 mid and we have push bot for whatever duration of time. in this case, we ended up losing it because they actually got a gank off around 9 minutes on us. So we had push bot for the first 9 minutes of the game. Pretty much their bot is stuck under turret, can't really do much for their team. So the hope is we use that to get whatever objective is on the map. That was, we got their blue. Ideally, we would have got the grubs and the dragon earlier.
And that would have allowed you guys to like accelerate the game pace and kind of really dictate what you guys want to do. Is that kind of the same ideology when you're stuff picking like the Scion and the Zac, where it's like durable mid champions that allow you to control objectives early? I don't want to give the blueprint to Shopify Rebellion by any means. I'm just someone that like is able to observe the game. But like for other people that like kind of watch it more casually or only kind of look at the box score, is that sort of the rough blueprint of like what you're trying to do with these like tankier mid picks?
I would say that they each serve their own purpose. So the Scion purpose might be to open up a unique jungle pick, and
Yeah.
in this case, that's what it was. It
Yeah.
opens up a couple of the AP carry junglers that are traditionally very squishy, but can deal a lot of damage if they're ahead. And they usually have better clear speeds, and Scion doesn't need help mid, so it's like a good combo. The Zac is actually more of like it got buffed. It's pretty strong in solo queue. There's actually quite a few Zac players that play top and mid and high elo challenger games in NA. So that was like a little inspired of them and less of a team pick, more of like I think I can do this and it looks pretty good because they had Orianna, Seraphine, Senna maybe? I'm not sure
Yeah.
what their fifth was.
I
So yeah,
think
they
it was
basically have
Sunday. Yeah.
a bunch of immobile squishy champs, right? And Zac has really good base damage, and he's very effective. When you can't kill him quickly, he's just going to keep healing up with his little
Blobs.
goo, yeah,
Yeah.
little blobs. So yeah, I mean they each serve like a different purpose, but the idea is sometimes to change up the pattern, but usually it's like we're not picking them because we just want to. David's not saying, or Insanity's not saying like I just want to be the weird champ guy. You know, he's picking what he thinks is best for the game and the draft, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's best for his lane. He could pick other things and do better in his 1v1 matchup for sure.
And obviously these conversations are happening with your coach Reven, right? It's not like he's just kind of slamming it in going, yeah, I'm going to be the guy. I'm going to be Shopify's, savior and hero. I mean, obviously Reven has a lot of input, so it can't just be like he's the one dictating the team comps. It goes through Reven. It obviously goes through you guys. I'm assuming there's a back and forth conversation that happens before something gets kind of just locked in like that. It's not spur of the moment, right? There's no way.
No, so all these picks that David has picked have not been spur or Insanity have not been spur of the moment, and uh, if anything, I would say that Reven pushes for them more than Insanity does. Insanity would be happy to play, the Orianna Azir matchup 100 times.
Corky or yeah.
Yeah, because then it's like he loses, I guess, agency in the game, but it's not like he's demanding that agency. He's not demanding these picks because he wants to do more. He's comfortable with whatever. He's a very versatile player, and as a result, in some drafts, Reven will say, I really want you to play the Garen mid or the Zac mid. It's definitely coming from coaching staff and Insanity agreeing on a pick.
And Zeyzal, you've had a myriad of different coaches over your career. Is Reven the kind of coach that not necessarily maybe want, but is it something that you kind of need for Shopify Rebellion? Or like, what is the coaching style? What is your preferred kind of coach in this case? Because I know Reven feels like he's a lot more hands-on, feels like he has a lot more solidified ideas about how he wants to draft, the champions he wants to draft. Like, I know there have been coaches out there that are kind of more of the personality manager side and stuff like that. What kind of is Reven to you as a coach, and is it your preferred style of coaching?
He's definitely not a personality manager, so I would describe him as he's very open to new ideas. He understands the game well enough that he knows when you are just doing something dumb and trying to cope, that like, oh, I was limit testing, and it's like, well, buddy, you've done the same play 4 times and it looks like trash every time, so maybe you're not limit testing. And then on the flip side, knowing the game, he knows that basically he knows how to play standard League of Legends very well. I think he's like grandmaster right now in solo queue. We have a a little bet where whoever ends more LP than him, he has to give us like it's like $1 per LP, and then the opposite is we have to give him $1 per LP. But he's currently losing that with everyone except Fake God. But back on topic. He is the kind of coach that he will call you out when you're doing something dumb, but I think he also understands that you make mistakes, and in my opinion, he lets a few too many things slide. So there's like I would say that he's closer between like not personality manager. He understands the game really well, but he's not, I don't know how to describe it other than like a hard ass. And I think a lot of Korean coaches are known to be like calling out every little mistake. I think he's actually very far from that. So it's like almost the opposite of what you'd expect. But he also has the game knowledge of like what you kind of view as a traditional Korean coach. So it's very weird. And it's like I could actually see a world where him calling out those mistakes more is actually better. But really, I mean, I worked with him on Cloud9 Challenger. I loved my time there, so I was happy to work with him again. It's a big reason why I came to Shopify Rebellion. So, I mean, I guess he is like my ideal coach, but I'm not sure maybe there is a world where there's a perfect coach, but I'm not sure if I've had one yet. But all my coaches have been pretty good, and I'm very lucky in that regard.
It kind of seems like you're describing more of like a bend, not break kind of coaching style almost with him, where he's like very willing to call you out on mistakes and stuff like that. But he's not just going to hammer in like every single one, just to kind of like demoralize you. Yeah, I like I said, I've heard a lot about Coach Reven. I feel like a good amount of players on your team have some sort of connection with him. And it seems like it's a very back and forth. It almost feels like it's a consistent conversation with like Shopify Rebellion players and Reven, where I don't know if we get that deep of a insight or get that deep of a conversation for other teams, right? Sometimes the players are like very heavily dictating the draft, or like you said, for like some coaches in Korea or other coaches, they are much more heavily dictating, like, you're going to play this, you're going to play these 3 champions, and that's all you're going to do, kind of thing. We are actually ending up on time. Like I said, Zeyzal, I've just been super amazed with your journey. It's the biggest, one of the best redemption arcs. You and Fake God, I think, have 2 of the best redemption arcs in the LCS period. And I'm very much, forward looking to kind of your rise into the LCS and kind of just your back to dominance, right? For you specifically, do you have any final shout outs to the Shopify fans, former TSM fans, so on and so forth, the Zeyzal fans potentially?
Yeah, I mean, thank you guys for following our journey, my journey, and I really appreciate all the fans who have stuck with me from 2016 Cloud9 Challengers to 2024 Shopify Rebellion. It's great to have any fans left after such a long journey, but I appreciate all of you, and yeah, thanks for being a fan.
Thank you so much, Zeyzal.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching the video. I'm hoping you guys enjoyed the content. If you did, leave a like, comment, do all that jazz. I genuinely try to respond to every single comment I see because it's always interesting to see the other opinions of people that care about League of Legends esports as much as I do. Obviously, the best way to support me is to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications on my latest uploads. If you want to see more of me and my content, I stream on Twitch 5 days a week. The link will be in the description box below. If you are into short form content, I'm also on TikTok. We talk about LPL, LCK, LEC, all the stuff over there. We talk about roster moves. So if your jam is short form content, head over to TikTok, hit the follow button there. I'm also on Twitter. So all of that stuff will be in the description box below. But other than that, thanks for watching the video, and I hope to see you soon.